Airbnb bust. So, what's really going on with Airbnb? Let's look past the memes and clickbait headlines and look at the numbers. In quarter three of 2023, the Airbnb platform generated 113 million, garnered 113 million night and experience bookings, up 14% year over year, valued at 18.3 billion in gross booking value. The company extracts a fee from each booking, which helped net them 3.4 billion in revenue. But what are hosts complaining about? When we shift our focus to individual hosts in the US, a different picture emerges. According to AirDNA, short-term rental occupancy decreased to 54.8% for 2023, down 57.9% in 2022. While available listings have spiked 17.2% year over year, reaching 1.54 million properties, this increased competition. So this article here, what it's talking about is seems to be there's a big oversaturation with Airbnbs. I know here in Scottsdale, we've witnessed it when we were first putting up Airbnbs back in 2022 or really earlier, 2020, 2021, 2022. You could literally just put up a property, put some furniture in there, and you were going to make some money. Now, and at that time, there was about 2,500 Airbnbs just in the Scottsdale area. Today, there's 7,500 Airbnbs just in the Scottsdale area. So, as you can see, there's a lot more competition, a lot more saturation. And if some hosts that want to fill their property, they decide to lower their nightly rate, enhance it shifts the whole competition, and now they have to lower their nightly rate. So, what we've seen here is what this article is just about to talk about, which is the rise of midterm rentals. So, a few advantages, and if you don't know what midterm rentals are, anyone that's staying for 30 plus days. Now, there's a new company out there, it's called Pad Split. There, if you haven't heard of it, they try and get about renters in there for at least 3 months at a time. So your property still has to be furnished, but they're pretty much renting just a bedroom from you. Now, the advantages of these midterm rentals are it's steady income, reduced vacancy rate, lower operational costs. And the reason why they're lower operational costs is because when you have an Airbnb, you have to pay a cleaner every single time they go in. You have to pay Airbnb fees. And with this, they're there for an entire month. So you're only got to pay the cleaner one time. Now, the vacancy really shoots down, but also it's more of a predictable income when you have a midterm rental because you're not just hoping that somebody books it for one weekend or another weekend or even during the week. These people are in there for 30 plus days at a minimum. So a lot of people are starting to switch some of their short-term rentals and converting them into midterm rentals, which now makes me wonder because if you go online and go on Zillow, there's a lot of Airbnbs, or I wouldn't even say Airbnbs, a lot of hosts or properties that are being rented fully furnished. And that's because they started out as a Airbnb, they decided to do this route. Now, I'm curious if this is going to maybe cause another saturation for the midterm rental space. Maybe there's going to be too many fully furnished properties that you can rent. So, a lot of people they're now switching their Airbnbs into midterm. Now, some things I want to highlight about this strategy. I've done it to a couple of my Airbnbs and it's worked out pretty good. But what I don't think people understand, and I think this is where your Airbnbs will lose, is if, for example, here in Scottsdale, I call it an event-based location. And what that means is we're busy when there's events here. We're busy from November all the way through May. After that, the summertime, we're pretty much dead. Now, the people that I've seen have the most success on Airbnb are the people that have properties in vacation destinations. So think wherever you're located, let's say you're located here in Arizona. Where have people been visiting and going even before Airbnb was around? You're talking Flagstaff, Sedona, Payson, Prescott. All of these places people have been going before Airbnb was even around. Now, if your place is a vacation place where people were renting houses before Airbnb, before all these famous sites out there that are doing short term rental stays, those properties will perform the best and you can hedge your competition because they've always been and known to be a vacation destination. So I think if you're trying to get into the Airbnb space, think about that. But I also want to go into a little bit of this new platform called Pad Split. So again, Pad Split is for usually 30 plus days in and your property. I'm sorry. And with that being said, they like to have houses that are a little bit bigger, maybe 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, 6 bedrooms, and they get people in there for usually they rent them out by the week because these people pay weekly. Now, a comparison here from Pad Split to Airbnb. Right now, Pad Split is getting 80% occupancy, where Airbnb is averaging about 60% occupancy. Now, another thing about this is the platform fees on Pad Split are 12%. It's a lot higher. However, the Pad Split is renting by the room. So they're giving this analogy on an 8 room property. Now, having 8 rooms in one single house is pretty big. So, what a lot of people are doing is they're converting their living rooms into bedrooms, kitchens into bedrooms. It literally looks like a little dorm where all they share is just the kitchen. Now, there's going to be a lot of complaints about that because you have to think about parking, you have to think about neighbors being right next to each other. So, I don't know if this is the right answer, but definitely if you're looking for a way to create some more cash flow and your short-term rentals aren't doing as well as you thought, renting by the room might be a good answer for you. And in renting by the room, you're hearing it fancy terms now. You're hearing co-living, you're hearing pad split. All it is you're renting by the room. There's different platforms out there. So if you have a couple options, I would say when you're looking to buy a rental property, look at all your exit strategies. When you first purchase, how much money can I make a month on normal long-term rent? If I went midterm rental, can I do that? Do the HOAs allow it? Do Is this neighborhood okay to do that in? Am I in a central location? Then you go back to the short-term rental space, same thing. If it's an HOA community, do they allow less than 30-day rentals? Am I in a event-based location? And am I in a vacation spot? And then you go into renting by the room. And one thing that I really like about renting by the room is today in Arizona, the average rent for a 1 bedroom, 1 bath property is about $1,500. That's just rent. You still have to include utilities, etc. Now, with these rent by the room places, it's pretty easy to charge $900 to $1,000 per month for a bedroom because this is including absolutely everything. This includes the rent, the utilities, and the Wi-Fi, and usually a cleaner that comes and cleans all the common areas. So it actually helps for the affordable housing as well. So again, when looking to buy a rental property, look at all your exit strategies to see which one fits your best needs. Are rental properties a good investment? This is a good question. I like this because you see it today a lot on TikTok, Instagram Reels, whatever the case may be. Hey, you can become a multimillionaire investing in real estate. 100% you can. But if you're looking to make money in real estate and wanting it to be quick cash, or if you're wanting to make quick cash, real estate is not the answer. Real estate is a long term play. Usually you have to save money for down. Real estate is a long term play. Usually you have to save money for down payments. Usually it's about 20 to 25%. And here in Arizona, the average cost of a home is now 400,000. So $400,000, if you're saving 20%, that's $80,000. It takes a long time for most people to save $80,000. So to answer the question if are rental properties a good investment? Yes, rental properties are a great investment, but you also have to identify what your goals are. So sometimes if you're looking to invest into rental properties, some of the best benefits is you get steady income stream, you get the property appreciation, you get the tax benefits, you get to diversify your investment portfolio, and you're able to get into investment with using what's called leverage. And that means putting some of your own capital and then using the bank's capital to finance the rest. However, what a lot of people tend to do is they tend to get into these investment properties such as Airbnbs, or maybe they decide to get into a market where the properties are cheap but the cash flow is really great. And what they don't tend to realize is having a property costs money. You have to deal with maintenance, you have to deal with tenants, you have to deal with a turnover, you have to deal with vacancy. There's a lot of ways that you have to pay to be in the game. If you guys are looking to get into buying a rental property, I would go back to the basics. Number one, make sure you have no bad debt, meaning no credit card debt, no car payments. Number two, I would have at least 3 to 6 months of reserve per property in case there is something that does happen. Number three, I would also use your money, your extra money, to buy an investment property. Don't go and use all of your savings and buy this property, and now everything that you saved and worked hard for is just tied up into these rental properties. Because if anything was to go down, or let's say the market crashes, are you okay with taking that loss? Or are you okay with riding out that rental property till your equity and appreciation catches back up? So you have to ask yourself these different questions before getting into real estate. When is the right time to buy a rental property? I think this is a great question because everyone assumes the minute you have 20% down, you go buy a rental property. Now, from my experience, I bought my first two rental properties at 19 years old. I was able to get in with very low money down because I discovered what's called seller financing. I didn't really know what it was at the time. Now I do, and I realize how powerful it is. But I also realized a couple things when owning rental properties. I own 7 rental properties today. And from those 7 rentals, there's only maybe 2 that really spits off a lot of cash flow. The other ones, they spit off maybe $200 to $300 a month. Now, $200 to $300 a month is not life changing. If you're looking to get into real estate and buy rentals and hope that the cash flow pays for all of your living expenses so you can go out and quit a job, it it's a lot harder than what TikTok and real estate gurus are telling you. It's not you just buy these rental properties with zero money and you're making X amount of cash flow. Now, don't get me wrong, you can do that, but the average person won't do that. And I think if I can do it all over again, something that I would do instead of saving my money to buy rental properties, I would actually save my money and I would actually start a business that generates me a lot of income. For example, let's say here in Arizona, it costs $400,000 to buy an average home. Now that's $80,000 for a down payment. If you're making $100,000 a year, it's pretty hard to save up $80,000. It's going to take you maybe 3 to 5 years to do that. Now, let's say you had a business that was generating you $50,000 a month. It's a lot easier to save $80,000 when you're making $50,000 a month. So, this is what I mean. You have to truly focus on something. Number one, still all of the basics, no debt, don't overspend, etc. But you have to really focus on creating an active income. And this is just my opinion. You have to focus on making an active income before investing and diversifying your money into passive income portfolio streams like real estate, because it takes a lot of money to get into real estate, but it also takes a lot of maintenance and upkeep to get into real estate as well. Now, it doesn't really matter if you're making $50,000 a month consistently. Now, it's pretty easy to go ahead and buy these rental properties, maintain whatever you have to maintain, maybe pay a property manager, and now you're just investing for the long term. Now, these properties, you're going to thank yourself in 10 to 20 years when you purchase them that, hey, I purchased these properties, appreciation went up, the principal went down on my loan, rents went up, I got all these tax benefits, and now in 15 to 20 years, I can decide to pay them off, sell them, or live off of the rental income. But getting into real estate is a long game. So, when is the right time to buy a rental? I would say when you're consistently making a good active income. Budgeting is dead. If the word budget sends a shiver down your spine, you're not alone. According to a recent Lending Club report, over 60% of Americans steer clear of financial planning because the B word is just too daunting. This is a pretty funny article. Budgeting is dead. Here are the steps to follow. Step 1, track your income and expenses. Step 2, getting leverage. Step 3, uncover where your money is really going. Step 4, taking decisive action. So, although all they did was eliminate the word budgeting, it is still the same exact thing. Budgeting is not dead. If you are having trouble with your finances and you just can't seem to get above water, you have to have a budget. Whether I don't care if you're living paycheck to paycheck or if you're making a lot of money where you don't really see where your money is going. Either way, you need to have a budget. And that all starts with step 1, which is tracking your income and your expenses. You need to know how much money is coming in, how much money is going out, and where is it going out from. Usually, when you do that, you automatically are able to eliminate some nonsense expenses. For example, I did this recently and realized I was paying for 3 Amazon Prime memberships. That alone is $15 each. So that's the little things. Now, the bigger things are when you're looking at your income and expenses. Now, let's look at some of your debts. Do you have a car payment? Do you have credit card debt? Do you have student loans? We list them all from lowest balance to highest balance, and then we start tackling them. Dave Ramsey method style. And then from there, I truly believe the minute you're out of debt, you're no longer living paycheck to paycheck, you can now start thinking about investments. You can start saving an emergency fund. This article saying budgeting is dead. She just reworded the word and put it into steps, but all it is a budget. And if you want to financially succeed, you have to have a budget. Myth number 1, renting is throwing away money. This article says that I've been in real estate for over 20 years and I own an interest in over 2,000 units and I rent the apartment where I live. Renting and owning a home each comes with trade-offs. After weighing them, each of us can and should decide for ourselves which option suits us better, but it's not a foregone conclusion. I totally agree with this. I don't believe renting is throwing away your money. I used to until I started getting a little bit more financial savvy. And I truly believe renting is a great option for some people. Owning a home is more expensive than renting a home for sure. And I'm a real estate agent. And I truly believe everyone should buy a home if they want to. It's able to give them long term wealth. But if you're thinking about today and you're thinking from a cost perspective, which one costs more? Owning a house always costs more, even if the mortgage payment is lower than your rent payment, because you have property taxes, you have insurance, but you also have maintenance. And maintenance in homes can be crucial. Here in Arizona, if your AC goes out, that's easily $10,000. Water heater goes out, that's $1,200 to $1,500. You now have to You now are responsible for your roof, which costs twenty to $25,000, obviously depending on the size of the home. Now, we haven't even touched any of the minor issues such as leaks. Maybe you have, I don't know, something in the backyard that happens, plumbing, electrical. It's a lot of issues that can arise when owning a home, where when renting, any of those issues arise, you just call up your landlord and they have to fix them. So, is renting throwing away your money? Honestly, depends on you and depends on what your goals are. But truly, a lot of people think owning their own home, they're investing in real estate, and that's not true. A asset brings money into your pocket where a liability takes money out of your pocket. So when buying a piece of real estate, or investing, remember that rule, because if you own a home and you say that's an investment, it's not an investment. That is truly a liability. Myth number 2. What is cash flow? Rent minus the mortgage payment equals cash flow. I cannot stress this enough. That is just absolutely not true. We have to account for vacancy, maintenance, different items, and usually it's a percentage. So usually I account for about 5% vacancy in my rent. I usually take off about maybe 10 to 15% of whatever rent comes in and I set it aside for maintenance issues. And then after all of those expenses, after the principal, interest, taxes, insurance, maintenance issues, all of these expenses, whatever is left over, that's your true cash flow. So if you see a house and you can get maybe $2,000 in rent and your mortgage payment after everything is probably, let's say $1,600, we're just giving an example here. There's $400 left there. More than likely, you'll probably only cash flow realistically about $50 to $100 a month. Now, let's say your AC goes out or your water heater goes out. That eats up your cash flow sometimes for a year to 2 years to even 3 years. So think about that when you're looking at what true cash flow really means. You don't need to earn a lot to be financially free. Here's how you can do it on minimums. This is a great article. I like this because it's actually talking about the world today. So I truly believe you can be financially, I wouldn't say financially free, but you can be a lot more flexible with your finances in 2024 than you can ever be than in history. Why? Because we have remote work. You can literally get a job that you work from home and you can travel the world while still working from your computer. Now, you're not financially free, you still have to work, but you still have that flexibility to go travel different places, experience the world, and see how things go from there. Now, in order to do these things, though, I truly believe you have to have a couple of things. And that's number one, you have to keep your expenses low. You just have to. You you can't have high expenses and then do this and go travel and think that you can live this financial free life or this flexible lifestyle. You have to keep your expenses low. Your active income still needs to be decent. It doesn't need to be 100,000 or 200,000. It can simply be $50,000 as long as your expenses are low. Now, you also have to account for maybe different investments where they pay you some sort of passive income. Maybe it's a stock that pays you some dividends. Maybe it's a syndication where you put some of your money into like a fund for real estate and it also pays you X amount every month. But again, if you have your expenses low and you have a remote job, I truly believe in 2024, you can truly have the most flexible path to financial freedom that you can ever have in history. Should you be saving right now? This is a good question for a lot of Americans. They always ask, should I be saving? Should I be investing? I always go back to the basics. Number one, let's take a look at your debts. Now, I personally feel you can't save any money if you have debts. Now, some people will argue with me. and say maybe they can save or put their money into an investment that then pays off their debts. Now, maybe that's true. I know people that have done that. But what if that investment falls through? What if that investment, let's say it's a rental property, what if it needs maintenance? It's hard to tackle those maintenance issues and fix that rental if you have no money because you already have debt. So I truly believe in order to be saving and in order to be investing, you should take care of your personal finances first. And that's taking care of, let's say you have car payments, let's say you have credit card debt, whatever the case may be. You pay those things off first before you can truly save and start investing. The easiest way to add $1,500 or more a month to your income, you can achieve this by eliminating two of the most expensive expenses in your budget, and that's housing and transportation. And the way you can do this is pretty simple. If you live in a big city and maybe you go to work that's close, you can eliminate your car because the average car payment is $700. It doesn't include insurance, maintenance, or gas. So you're on average probably spending about $1,000 a month for your car. Now let's say your car is paid off. You still have to pay maintenance, insurance, and gas. So you're still at least spending $200 to $300 on your car. So you could eliminate your car completely, take Ubers or drive a bike. Now let's say that's not possible and you still live in a big city like here in Arizona. It's pretty far commute between cities. So you would have to keep your car. So that's okay. So go ahead and keep your car. Now just make sure it's paid off. But the biggest way to eliminate your most expensive expense is house hacking. And that's simple. You need to either buy a house where you live in one of the units, rent out the other units, or maybe you buy a house, you live in one of the rooms and rent the other bedrooms. But the quickest way for you to add an additional 1,000 to 2,000 to even $3,000 a month in your pocket, depending on which city you live in, is easily house hacking and eliminating your transportation at some cost.